emergency management from each municipality. They will be kind of the operating arm of the regional emergency management plan. But I did want to highlight that individual municipal councils, the bylaw delegates some powers to the committee during a regional emergency management. So that's when there's on the threshold of what would be considered a regional emergency versus a local emergency. So the individual councils still continue to retain powers and duties related to non-regional bylaw or emergency responses. So this is the bylaw. I know a number of the member municipalities have approved the bylaw. They were hoping it was done by the end of the month, and once all of the members have approved the bylaw, the group will then be focused on setting the committee forward, developing the agency and working on the regional management plan and program. So lots of work. Yeah, we'd have to appoint someone. One of the challenges that I think we're going to find as we move through it, and one of the challenges that I was quite adamant of when we went through the process, was the bylaw used to say that they were going to hire a emergency services coordinator manager to manage this group. And I said, can't put the cart before the horse. I said, if there's going to be that decision made, if you expect funding from the member municipalities, then they have to have input into that. So I think in the bylaw, it recommends that that should be looked at. But there's a lot of steps that will move forward in terms of having to establish what the costs of having a regional emergency management committee is, agency is, meetings, those types of things, and who's going to pick up the cost and how that funding formula is going to be played out. So there is some work to do around that. I just wanted to give you a heads up that there probably is the expectation that there will be some increased costs to the municipality to be a part of this program as we move forward. But I think from the larger scale picture, it's the right move. And generally, when we have an emergency out here, it involves at least 2 municipalities, whether it's a wildlife fire, whether it's a blizzard, any of those things certainly impacts special areas and any of their urbans. So this just gives, and I think a lot of the smaller urbans are really appreciative of the fact that, not that they're handing over responsibility, but there is some support there if things got to be big and in a big situation. They knew that some of them would have no problem having the special areas director of emergency management step in and manage their event because they feel they don't have necessarily the proper expertise, and that someone else may have that expertise. So this is just the starting process. It's been a little longer timeline than we hoped, but we're going to continue to work on the other parts of it.
I would just like to add, I take a broader perspective of it. To me, this is formalization of something that already exists and giving us sort of some minimum standards by which to operate as a regional group, and to draw upon the expertise of the whole group to make the response to a larger emergency that affects, may not affect all communities at a time, but certainly one that we can share those the expertise that's there. And like I said, it will help us set a minimum standard for training, a few things like that that we can operate better. And so to me, that the bylaw is kind of the first step to get that in place. I don't know if it's written in stone as yet, but it's there to guide us and give us a perspective of operation. So
thank you. Any questions? Yeah, Councilor Campbell.
Sorry. Yeah, you said there's one member from our each municipality. Assigned duties, is that be a council member? Anyone that the municipality wants?
That is a little bit debatable. It does say, I think, in here on on section, I gotta find the right section. It's section 4A says the regional advisory committee shall consist of municipal councilors or their delegates appointed by each of the parties. So if council chose to delegate an administrative person to that committee, they could.
But it would be council first option.
Council would be the first option, yes.
Yeah, and one alternate.
Yeah.
It actually, I would read it as a council matter. It says by
Yeah, it's-
resolution, each municipal council
Yeah,
shall by resolution appoint one of its members,
Yeah.
so municipal council, that's.
I think that's definitely the plan, is that it is an elected official.
Yeah, that's the way I was, I think that's what it should be set up, I won't be sure.
Any further questions? All right, then I'll call the question. All in favor? That is carried. All right, that takes us to council reports and roundtable. Councilor Jensen, we very rarely ever get to start with you for some reason, either whether on Zoom or something like that. I mean, that's just my bad for being a horrible chairperson. So let's start with you this evening.
All right, I don't really have anything to add to my report other than with the announcement this evening, the library will also be closed as of Sunday, 12:01. So we conveniently have a meeting on Monday to discuss what we're going to do, if we can offer curbside still or otherwise.
So, yeah, Councilor Jensen, just a quick question, I don't know if it'll affect, because I know you just got some grant dollars to hire some students, whether they'll still be able to continue, or,
Well, likely not within the facility. There won't really be anything for them to do if we're closed, but maybe we can get an extension.
I'm sure you have valid reasons for extension now, so.
Yeah.
Crazy. For those, if you couldn't understand because of the masking, Councilor Jensen just iterated that the library will be closed due to the new restrictions. Thank you. Is there any questions for Councilor Jensen? Okay, thank you for that. Councilor Bowden?
I do have just a little bit. I did ask Laurie Pearson, who is doing some consulting work with Community Futures, to just provide a little bit of an update. And so I do have it here, which she did submit. And so she has indicated that she is in the hub, the business hub in Hannah, since September 2019 as a business project role. And serving entrepreneurs in Hannah and Coronation, which are the co-affected areas, through one-on-one coaching, offering workshops to community boards and schools, and promoting Community Futures lending programs. To date, they have served 40+ entrepreneurs, businesses, offered 7 workshops, and have run 2 entrepreneurship programs for the Prairie Land Regional School Division. And Community Futures has some loan programs, and I won't go into it a lot and any further. I did ask if she may come on in January, and Vicki Newmeyer as well, possibly by Zoom. There was a discussion about community bonds in a meeting that we did have with Community Futures, and thought it might be a good discussion to have. So they may be coming in the January meeting, the information meeting, possibly to share some of that information with us.
So that raises a question that I was going to ask later. Can we meet in person on the 12th? That is our next council meeting.
That currently right now is probably debatable, like the sanctions that were put in place today are for 4 weeks, so.
Which is
Was it?
The 5th. The 5th.
No, but, sorry. So does it go to January 5th?
Oh, just a minute, if you start the,
I just maybe I read somewhere. I don't know if it was the 12th.
it should be off on the 10th.
Yeah, that's a detail we'd have to,
So before you confirm that, better just make sure that, yeah, we're,
Yeah, I think Vicki is.
but they'd probably be a Zoom anyways.
okay.
Yeah, they've done the Zoom situation, and I did mention it might be Zoom as well. So whatever suits them and the challenging situation.
Yeah, even if we were in person such as we are now, they could zoom in and we could have them on the screen. So-
Yeah.
But we may be restricted to Zoom.
Much easier to hear.
And council's, I think, done a very good job with Zoom today, so.
Absolutely.
Other than that, I don't have anything else.
Okay, thank you. Is there any questions for Councilor Wood? I do have one. So that first page that you have, I don't have it printed out with me, but the bottom loan to businesses, I believe, the very last thing, is that different from the Canada, what is it?
This, I believe, is from WD, and so.
So it's different.
I believe it is a little bit different.
Okay,
So check on their website.
okay, yeah,
Um,
no, that's good, because it reads very similar to
It
the
is the same,
Canada Business
the
Relief
CERS.
loan or whatever it was called.
Yeah.
So, okay, good, thank you. I'll do research. Okay, awesome, thank you for that, Councilor.
Thank you.
Councilor Deadlock.
I think I included everything in my report.
I'm gonna put you on the spot, Councilor Denlock. So the Japan AGTNA, AGM, I know you said it wasn't much happening. They are still functioning as a organization
Yeah.
on paper anyways.
Yeah, they're not really doing a whole lot. They are developing a website. It's
A new
not-
website.
A new website. There's not much on it yet. They will be reaching out to the town of Canada for a little bit of back information on us, but they will reach out to us. I don't know when. I found it was very, it was a very unorganized meeting, and there wasn't a whole lot of information. It was more just updating their budget information and getting a report. It was a very short meeting as well.
Okay, yeah, I know that group has been struggling the last number of years. They used to, when I was first involved with them, they used to get money from the province and to help them operate and move forward. And they were much more dynamic and much more organized. The money went away and some of the communities have went away. And they're really struggling to keep up their organization. And I think, you know, I've asked the question, other people have asked the question, is it important that they exist as an organization? And I don't know if it is. I think those people who are there and working on it are very passionate about the exchanges and have been involved in exchanges for many, many years and have trouble letting it go. But I think without the province being involved in providing some leadership and direction, they've really floundered. So
Yeah, and I think too with COVID and.
nobody was able to do any exchanges or
No,
anything.
so
So
I think they just kind of let, there's nothing we can do right now, so we'll just sit back and wait.
Councilor Canopy,
Nothing there.
I like your holiday, your.
Oh, yeah.
Mandatory. Go ahead, very fast. Holiday.
That was some holiday.
you didn't include your address to mail birthday gifts though?
Oh, yeah, box 93.
983.
But the party's still on till midnight.
You need to put your mailing address.
Yeah, box 93. Same postal code as the mayor's got.
There you go. Councilor Stickle, did you have an actual question?
No.
That was it? That was all you wanted to do? Okay, that's awesome. Any further questions for Councilor Canopy? Okay, thank you for that. Councilor Olson?
I think I've got everything on there that I needed. I was gonna make a note, we're testing, this is a town of Hannah Christmas party suggestion, we're testing a remote game over Microsoft Teams for special areas the next couple of days, so
Oh, okay.
I can let Lori
Yeah,
know how that goes. Just suggestions, we know what's gonna be.
You may be looking for something to do.
Yeah. There's ways to do something entertaining, even if it's for a couple hours, something.
sure.
Excellent.
But no, I have nothing else to add.
Any questions for Councilor Olson? Councilor Bowman?
I have to compliment him on his jacket and wonder who your designer is.
I think inspector number 3.
Yeah, well done. Enjoy that.
So I'm assuming, Councillor Wilson, that the cooling never got restarted?
At the golf course?
I
Golf
don't
course, and
believe
now it
so.
would be shut down.
It was still a,
I think there
you can argue a sport maybe, but I mean, it was a social gathering, so they tried.
They erred on the side of caution.
Exactly, decided responsible.
Okay.
my son plays pool, and he said, I think they, just as a committee, whatever, they just decided to wait till New Year.
Okay.
So. Thank you for that, Councilor Wilson. Councilor Stickle.
Not too much to add. I'm sure there's going to be some more changes at the lodge tomorrow. I would assume it's going to be locked down much tighter. Palliser will be locked down. We know you have to phone if you want to go there, make an appointment. Other than that, I guess that's about it.
Any questions for Councilor Stickle?
Councillor Stickle, so probably your ability to bring new residents in has just been hampered again?
I believe so.
Okay.
So, and no cases or anything, no issue?
Not here.
Not in that, right?
We had 3 in concert. Matheson, I believe his last name was taken to Red Deer, he passed away.
Oh,
But they did a bunch of testing today, no, yesterday. And we'll know for sure, that's their 3rd round of testing at concert. It's been negative up till now, so, but,
well, and we know those are the places where it can be
yeah,
nasty, yeah, so.
What's the testing procedure, like they have regimented testing regularly?
they have people come in and test them.
Okay,
Test the whole lodge, residents and staff.
on a schedule or just with symptoms?
Well, they just do the whole thing at one time. Yeah, they have the CEO calls them in. And they had health board come in after the first test, and they went through the whole lodge in concert and said everything was up to and above standards, so we're happy with the way it's being run, so.
Awesome. Any further questions for Councilor Stickle? Okay, thank you for that. As far as my report goes, it was pretty quiet in November. I mentioned last week that I was doing a Zoom meeting today with a gentleman from Colorado, I believe it was. Anyway, his name is Brad Handler. He's the senior fellow for Payne Institute of Public Policy at the Colorado School of Mines. So he's doing a podcast, actually, and he's contacted some of the co-affected leaders in Australia, in Alberta, and he's going to put this podcast up. So when we get it out, I said I'd share it with our social media and on our website. So I'm not sure how soon he's going to have it done, but it was kind of interesting. Really nice fellow. He had some really good questions, just kind of asking what we're trying to do to transition and what we have been doing over the last 4 years. It's been, and yeah, it was interesting. He's really, really good guy, and I think he'll do a really good job on the podcast. So that was really interesting. It was different than he didn't mention the podcast in his initial correspondence, so I didn't know what he wanted to do. But yeah, it was really kind of quite cool. I guess as of my report, we had 6 cases. We went to 9 yesterday. We're at 8 today, but that's a moot point because we're all locked down, so that's horrible news. I was going to ask about the January meeting. We'll decide as to whatever the lockdown date ends. We'll make sure we get that correspondence. And I do want to wish everyone a really Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year with yourselves. And I don't say that lightly. I mean that. I mean, this is important. It's very difficult to not be around people, and I understand why they have the restriction that, if you're a single person living alone, you can have those 2 because it's hard to be alone, especially this time of year. So I think it's really important. I know it was a hard decision for our province to make, potentially a necessary one, but And this is potentially our last Christmas together as a group, obviously with an election next year, depending on what happens. So I want to say it's been a great 8 Christmases for me in this position, and I thank all the administration and councils that I've worked with for a great job. So we'll see what happens next year. Like you said, the nominations open on January 2nd, so we'll see what happens. Is there any questions for me? And that's not one you can ask. Councilor Gordon?
I would just like to reiterate the same to everybody as well, to have a Merry Christmas and a COVID-free New Year. And thank you very much for putting up with me and my questions. And thank you.
Awesome. And we had our first injection in the world, I guess, today or a couple or whatever it was in the UK. So maybe there's some light at the end of the tunnel. So with that, that ends my report. I would entertain a motion that council accepts council reports for information. Thank you, Councilor Campion. All in favor? That is carried. I'll just blow through these correspondence reports. Just stop me if you want to make a comment. 12.1, Consulate General of Japan in Calgary, November 20 update. Cactus Corridor Economic Development Corporation press release 2020, that was November the 19th. 12.3, AUMA South Alberta Zone update for November 29th. I think there was more than one email there, but that was interesting. Anyway, 12.4, Special Areas 2020 Industrial Tax Transfer.
So just
I
on
need,
that, I'm looking at the letter, they didn't put the amount in.
no, I know.
So it is 200,000, so it is a significant contribution from our partner. That's been annual for quite a number of years. I think since 2013, it's been 200,000.
So they haven't adjusted for inflation.
They haven't adjusted for inflation, they haven't adjusted for deflation.
No, that's true, yeah.
But I know the goal of the chair, he would love to be able to increase that. And prior to 2020, he had suggested it would be a possibility in 2020, and then everything happened. I know my last conversation with him, he's still hoping for 21 that it might be able to increase it, but no guarantees. But it is a significant bonus to us. So I just wanted council to be aware of the amount since they didn't include it in the letter.
They don't have to be close.
Nope.
Again, 20 or 12.5, the Special Areas 2020 Recreation Grant. 12.6, Palace Regional Municipal Services Subdivision and Development Appeal Board Training.
So, Mr. Mayor,
Yeah,
I threw that in
I
there.
see that.
In case, so we are trying to, Palliser is trying to get a pool of trained board, subdivision and development appeal board members and clerks. I just thought maybe if somebody was interested, I wanted to make sure you were aware of the opportunity. It's a one-day training. We will, depending on the numbers they get, they will split. So if it's $3,200 and they have 16 people take the attendance, and we have 2, we'll pay our portion of that $3,200. Once someone is trained and certified, they will go in the pool and they will be called upon as required to deal with subdivision development or appeal board hearings throughout Palliser. So you, knock on wood, it's fairly quiet. There's not a lot of the appeals, but, and you're not forced to do it. So if somebody calls you and said, we're going to have an appeal on January 15th and you have other commitments, then you bow out. If you can and you want to, you say, yes, I'm available, and they'll have to get their crew of 3 to 5 board members, and you will get compensated for that time. There's a compensation for preparation time before the day, and of course during the day, and any expenses. So just thought I'd bring it to your attention if anybody's interested. I have approached a couple of locals about it, and they seem interested depending on what date was, so just wanted to make sure it's an opportunity if you want to.
We haven't activated for the training yet?
No. No, we haven't. But if someone here wish to, let me know, for example, that you would be interested in the training, and then you would say, but I can't make January the 11th, or all the dates are good, or these dates aren't good, and then when we put it forward, then they'll have that information.
The RSVP is my friend.
Yeah,
This one.
yeah. But if you,
I'd be interested, so.
okay,
Okay, so after,
Okay.
Okay, and then finally we have 12.7, Alberta Health Services RFP for lab services.
so I thought it would be important just for council to be aware, you hear about contracting out and you hear about different services. So my understanding when I read it, there is a comment in there about small labs still remaining and operating the same way. It says hospital sites that handle less than 25,000 community blood test collections per year will continue to do so. I don't know what our numbers are, so I don't know if we fit under that or not. But the other thing I think, because what will happen is people are worried about losing their jobs, locals losing their jobs, and it looks like through their RFP, they're saying that if you are successful with the RFP, you will be required to employ those individuals. So
I should have kept them busy for a month.
so I just they had one out not that long ago to do with laundry, I believe. So they are looking at contracting out a lot of the services that I know create some angst amongst the employees who work there. So.
Any questions about any of the correspondence? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion the council accepts correspondence items 12.01 to 12.07 for information. Thank you, Councilor Stichel. All in favor? That is carried, and with that, I would entertain a motion to go to closed session. Thank you, Councilor Bowden. All in favor? That is carried at 7:17.